like to welcome you on the mat for this practice. Today we will pay attention on the articulation of the spine, and we'll experiment a bit with the back bends, as well as we'll discuss how to keep support for the spine when we're back bending. Most of the back bends happen on the mat in our functional movements. It's not a lot of a back bends happening. That's why for our nervous system is a very tricky position, as everything designed for us to do in front of our eyes. So we're mostly folding forward for the functional movements. But we're starting here with the spine relaxed on the mat in horizontal position. We'll keep all the core muscles relaxed for a moment. And we'll start with their breathing, taking the breath through their nostrils in. Exhaling through the nostrils out. Allowing the body and mind to be settled on the mat, to be settled for the practice. Use this breathing practice as the separation act from your activities. Right, we're practicing life in the morning, so maybe we were not too busy. But if you're using this recording and the other time of the day, we might be busy, we might have some activities, we might process the result, or we're planning the day or week or event. So allow your mind to arrive to the mat and keep it on the mat with the body through the practice as much as possible. So let us add a bit of a movements and fingers, maybe circle your wrists, maybe bend your elbows a couple of times. And then we'll take the arms up, interlace the fingers and press the palms up toward the ceiling. And allow yourself to raise the sides of the shoulder blades off the floor. So like you are back bending in the upper back, right? Your lower back will be still neutral, maintain it neutral, but like you want to round the upper back. And then just to move the arms with this interlaced position from side to side, feeling a little bit of the rotation of the upper back, feeling a bit of a stretch on the upper back. And then let's go all the way to the right. And here you might change the hand's position, reach with the left hand to your right wrist, and kind of pull the arm a little bit, feeling a bit of a twisty, stretchy sensation on the back of the body. But keep your right hip grounded, so don't rotate with your pelvis. Keep your pelvis flat on the floor, so a bit of the stretch here. And then let's bring the arms up in front of the chest, and then go opposite, so reach to your left wrist and very gently pull the left arm and feel a bit of a stretch. Maybe it feels very different or even in a different spot on the left side. So see how that feeling here. And then let's release the arms. Let's now bring the arms in T position, and we'll move a little bit the pelvis. So we're gonna lift the legs off the floor. You can keep your knees bent in a comfortable way. And now let's drop the knees to the left. This time we keep the shoulders, the right shoulder on the floor, allowing the pelvis to be peeled off, and feel a bit of the stretchy and twisty sensations, but very gentle yet. We're just letting the body know we will be twisting, we will be manipulating with the spine, and you can keep your gaze on the right side if you like. And then let's return back to the center. Reset yourself on the center, and then drop the knees to the right. You can turn the head to the left, and feel a bit of a stretchy and twisty sensations. Again, you might feel tension arising in a bit of a different spot that you felt them on the right. Completely normal. Take into consideration asymmetry in the body. And then let's return back to the center. You're welcome to keep your knees again bent. Reset your pelvis and shoulders and back of the head back on the midline. And let us bend the elbows, having the forearms perpendicular to the floor, and keep your palms facing the feet back of the mat. Okay, so like a cactus pose, but forearms at 90 degrees. And let us go into the movements, dropping the palms toward the floor, first on the sides of the ears, on the sides of the head, but keep your wrists straight. So if you have a limitation and you want to reach the floor, you need to extend your palms. So don't do that. Keep your palms straight, and then return back into 90-degree position, and then go toward the palms on the floor on the sides of the hips, keeping elbows where they are, keeping them 90 degrees. Again, you probably will not reach the floor. You will have some 2 or 3 inches off the floor, but keep your wrists straight. And continue. Return back up with the tip of the fingers facing the ceiling. Move the back of the palms to the floor and the sides of the ears. And as you go, go slow, and just notice how your shoulders respond to that, because this is the shoulder rotation. So going with the forearms and palms on the sides of the head, and then back 90 degrees, and then toward the hips, palms facing the floor. So that will force your shoulders into internal rotation. Let's come one more time to the both direction. Palms on the sides of the head, external rotation, and then palms facing the floor, the sides of the hips, internal rotation. And then return back into 90 degrees, and then just shake your arms, and we'll bring the knees to the chest, rocking from side to side, and then find your way to roll into the seated position or go through the side, and let us come into the tabletop position, setting hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. And when you're ready, just go in your own favorite pace for the cat and dog stretch. And maybe have first couple of moves really slow, and then find the pace that's working for you, trying to be able to move every part. There's a 3 parts of the spine that we usually discuss: lumbar, thoracic, and their neck. So make sure that neck is moving as well as you're moving your head, and making sure that you're finding full flexion when You go into the cat stretch, go slow. Let's go one more time for the both directions, and then we'll come to neutral. Try to keep your hips as high as possible. They might move backward a little bit later, but try to keep them high. So it's not exactly the child pose, it's the puppy pose. And start moving your hands forward, and then find your way to get your forehead and elbows down to the floor. You might be feeling a lot of restrictions in shoulders right now, but get your tailbone up and chest down. So this is like an exploration of the first back bend. But this back bend is not scary as we are facing down, right? So we're facing forward. We're pressing the chest down, and we feel the extension in thoracic spine and probably feeling a lot of restriction in shoulders. Then just slide your elbows close to your knees so you feel more comfortable, and lift them off the floor. So let us take a block and place it on the right edge of the mat. And this time we're going to press the hips down, so like a child pose, but we're going to keep the palm on the block, and we're practicing child pose with slightly elevated right palm. And this time we're trying not to bend the right elbow. So right elbow is straight, and we're stretching the front of the right shoulder. If this feels too easy for you, you can definitely move the block into higher end, and we'll still doing the same thing. We're coming to the active child pose with the right palm elevated. That gives us opportunity to open a little bit the right side of the like the right shoulder, and feel a bit stretch on the right side of the chest. Elbow and wrist should be straight. So hold here for a couple of more exhales, and then lift the forehead off the floor, and we'll move the block to the left. So welcome to practice first with a palm on the lower level of the block, and let's see if this is just good enough for your shoulder. You need to keep your elbow and wrist straight, and you feel here the stretch. And if it's too easy, you're changing the block position and having a little bit extra stretch here. Again, holding for the couple of exhales. And then we'll lift the hips and chest, and I'm inviting you to put 2 blocks this time and practice this child pose with both palms on the blocks, trying to get as equal as possible in a sensation of the stretch. Your elbows are straight. And again, if you like to go a little bit more intense, you can turn the blocks higher end and kind of hang here a little bit. Maybe even you're not able to reach the floor with a forehead, but you're elevating your palms, and you feel some work in your mid back, right? So it's not a back bend in terms how we understand the back bend, where we extend into the lower back, but here is more in thoracic spine work, because very often we have restrictions here in shoulders, in thoracic spine, and that's what's stopping us to feel comfortable in the back bend on the mat. And let's release. So remove the blocks on the sides of the mat. Set your hands shoulder width apart, and when you're ready, go into the not the child pose, but downward dog, of course. And this is the first downward dog. Bend your knees and pay attention how you feel right now in the shoulders, how you feel in the upper back. So the warm-up that we performed earlier might give you some comfort in the downward dog, and then you keeping the knees bent and working with the pelvis alignment to set neutral lower back. And then if you feel tightness in your calves, in your hamstrings, you can pedal your heels, warm up a little bit your back, your legs, and then on next inhale, look forward and walk to the front of the mat. Set your feet hip distance, hand here for the couple of breaths. Relax arms, distributing the weight equally on your feet, sending the seat bones up, and then let's very slowly come up into standing position. So let us take a moment here in standing position. We were with the head down for some time. So letting the blood circulation to come to normal. And as we are practicing the mountain pose, we want to right away find the glute work, lower abdomen work, to get pelvis stable, to find how our lower abdomen muscles helping us to create the support for the spine, as we will need it in a moment. And let us bring the hands in front of the heart. You can take them palms together and just bring the gaze just slightly up toward the ceiling, so not really dropping the back of the head. And now with a lot of the engagement of the glutes, start pushing the pelvis forward. So don't think about dropping the head back. Think of the movement of the pelvis forward, and then just imagine that there is a shelf behind the back of the head, and you're just placing the head on the shelf. So you're not dropping the head down. And then think of the chest that press the palms up toward the ceiling. So a very moderate standing back bend. And then exhale, come back to the center. So let's incorporate this back bend into our sun salutation today. So bring your arms on the sides of the hips, and let's with inhale lift the arms up. So keep your neutral spine position, keep your mountain pose steady, and then bring the hands in front of the chest. And then on next inhale, so pressing the hips forward, and you come into slightly back bend. Think like someone is punching you between the shoulder blades, and you lift the chest up while supporting the low back with the strong glutes. And then on exhale, think of hinging from the hips and folding forward all the way. Dropping the head, feeling just passive traction of the spine. Then if you need to support, bring your hands to the floor and drop your left knee down. So coming into 90-90 lunge, and pick up the block here. Get the block in front of the chest, and then from here we're going to rotate to the right, and we're going to pulse here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Return back to the center, place the block down to the floor, and step into the downward dog. Exhale. So keep a long spine. Definitely you might feel some extra extension in thoracic spine from the work that we already performed. And then drop the knees down to the floor. Step the left foot forward. Again, pick up the block. This is a 90 lunge. So your pelvis is in neutral position. Hold the block with 2 hands in front of the chest. And then rotate. So chest is aligned with the block. And then pulse here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, return back to the center, place the block down to the floor, and step into downward dog. Exhale, long spine, head between the arms. Think of pressing the floor away from your feet. And then look forward and walk to the front of the mat. Set your feet hip distance. And we're going to go very, very slowly, one vertebra at a time. So be connected to your spine as you are unfolding and coming up into standing position. Taking the breath here, and let's flow again. Inhale, so maintain your neutral spine position. Then on exhale, bring the hands in front of the chest. And then next inhale, engage your glutes, press the hips forward. Feel some stretch in the hip flexors and drop the head back, but never drop the head. Don't try to compress the neck. Think more of a chest lifted up. And then on exhale, hinging from the hips immediately. So don't start your fold forward from your lower back. It's from the hip hinge, and then lower back is all going down. Exhale. Feel again some stretch in the back of the body. Then place the hands on the floor, step the left foot back, this time going into a little bit deeper lunge. And you're welcome to use your blocks. This time we're going to work on the stretching of the hip flexor, because as you notice, when we're pushing the hips forward in the back bend, we might feel some tension, like something is holding us here, because we don't come into those hip extension very often. Most of the time we have a flexion here. So get here the maximum what you can reach on this stretch, and just hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then we'll tug the toes and step into downward dog. Exhale, walk your feet, have a break in the downward dog, and then drop the knees down to the floor. Step your left foot forward. Use the blocks for support, and then try to slide this right back knee as far back as possible, achieving as deep stretch in the right hip flexor as possible, pressing our body weight forward to increase a little bit the intensity of stretch, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's again tug the toes and step into the downward dog. Use the downward dog first of all for creating the traction of the spine. So we're stretching the spine this way upside down, and achieving also some space between the vertebrae and helping us to go into back bends. Let's drop the knees down to the floor and step the right foot forward. You might use the block to help you to find the position, and then bring your hands to the knees. Press the hip forward like you just did previously. You can have a right hand on the knee, take your left arm up, and progress this left arm behind the head as far as you can go. Bringing gaze up toward the ceiling. If you're uncomfortable with the head, you always can bring the right hand to the head, and think like you're stretching the neck, like you're taking the base of the skull away from the floor. And then exhale, breathe again, hands on the floor, tug the toes, and step into the downward dog. Exhale, long spine. We can drop the knees down to the floor, the other side. Stepping forward again, if you need, use the blocks to find the deeper stretch. Bring the left hand to the thigh, and then bring the right arm up, bring the gaze up toward the ceiling. Try to progress with the right arm as far behind the head as it's available in your shoulder. And again, if you feel that your head is collapsing and you're like compressing the neck and you're not comfortable, use the left hand to keep support, like the shelf, like I mentioned earlier. Use it for the head. Press the chest forward. So this is pretty deep back bend already, even with the knee on the floor. Exhale. Bring the hands on the floor, tuck the right toes, and step into downward dog. Exhale. Keep your knees bent if you need. Take the breath and then look forward and walk to the front of the mat. Set your feet hip distance. Just hand here for the breath, and let's very slowly come up into standing position. Exhale. Let's go again. Inhale. So I want you to feel the difference between strong, straight, ideal postural mountain pose. And then exhale, bring the hands in front of the chest. Engage the glutes. Press the hips forward. We already warmed up the hip flexors. We already warmed up the shoulders. And press the chest up and drop your head backward as far as it feels right for you. Don't feel the compression. Try not to feel like you collapse into your lower back. Try to create the nice arch in your spine. Now, when you're folding forward, it starts from the hip flexors and fold all the way down. Exhale, dropping the head down to the floor. Feel it stretch along the back of the body. We're going to step the left foot back, and we're going to pick up one block and then lift the torso up. Let's bring the block to the left palm for our 90 degree, and we'll open the block to the side, taking the right arm up. Feel a bit of a stretch in the front of the chest. Work with this external rotation of the left shoulder and use this right side to ground yourself. You can even make a fist and engage the right arm like you're holding yourself. Like imagine the strap comes from the ceiling and you're holding yourself really strong with the right side of the body. Find your left glute and left leg creating a support. On exhale, bring the block in front and then, so holding both palms on the sides of the block, bring the block to the right hand. Keep the left hand going forward. So you are not moving your left arm, and just rotate with the right arm as far as you can get. So it feels from the front this way, and you bring your gaze with the block. So you're trying to press that right shoulder as far back, keeping yourself aligned with the left. Very good. Yes. Return back to the center, and let's bring the block down to the floor and step into the downward dog. Exhale, long spine. On next inhale, stepping the left foot forward. Again, picking up the block, coming up. This time, placing the block on the left palm and opening the left palm to the side. So make sure that you're not lifting the block. You want to have your forearm parallel to the floor. Take your left arm up and make a fist like you have in the strap coming from the ceiling. Engage the whole left side of the body. Engage the back leg and glute and work with external rotation. So try to keep your shoulders facing front. Don't rotate with the torso to the right. You want to maintain the torso facing the front. On exhale, bring the block in front. Align your palms on the sides of the block. So now it's like you have a wall on the right side. Keep the right hand arm aligned with the wall and take the block to the left hand and rotate it and feel stretch in the front of the chest. Hold yourself balanced by using the back leg. Your gaze comes slightly to the left following the block. On exhale, return back to the center. Place the block down to the floor and step into downward dog. Exhale. And then we're going to drop the knees and find a way on the prone position on the belly, having the blocks somewhere in front. But first we will bring palm on the top of the palm and bring the forehead down on the palms. So let us first of all just revive the work for the legs when we come into the belly line back bend. So let us engage the legs, point the toes, and when you're ready, lift your legs off the floor, knees straight. It doesn't need to be high, but I want you to feel that the whole back of the legs are working here. And then just think of the belly button that you also pulls in, and that's helping you to support your lower back. Exhale the legs down. You can shake them, relax the muscles, and we'll do it one more time. Next time, as you lift in the legs, you want to make sure that you're not tensing the top of the shoulders. The upper back and upper body is really relaxed. Neck is relaxed here. You're using only the glutes, hamstrings work here. Exhale, come down. This time, you would not lift your legs, your feet are hip distance, but you're working the same way. You're pointing the toes, you're squeezing the glutes. You also think of the front, lower abdomen engagement here, and this time we're going to lift the forearms from the floor. Your forehead is still touching the palms. It's not the high position, and you feel again that you're not trying to lift yourself with the neck or shoulders. It's all the extensors of the spine that helping you to lift. And then exhale, take a rest. We'll go one more time here. So when you're ready, pointing toes, squeeze the glutes. This is so important to support the lower back with glutes and lower abdomen muscles. And again, lift your forehead off the floor. Make sure you're not tensing your shoulders. Keep shoulder blades sliding down. And then exhale. Come down, shake your legs, take a breath here. And then let us work a little bit on the shoulder and upper back. So we're going to bring the blocks and get the forearms on the block. So it's like cactus pose, but we are facing the floor. If you're comfortable, bring the forehead down on the floor. Sometimes we have a nose on our way for comfort, so just find the best position for you. And let us lift the forearms. So let's start with the right. So keep elbow pressed to the floor and lift your forearms off the block, keeping the wrists straight. Very similar to what we did on the back in the very beginning of the practice. And then drop, and then try the other one. So try not to flex your wrist. I know some of us will have a lot of restrictions in shoulders, and we want to compensate that with a flexion of the wrist. Keep the wrist, even if it's 1 centimeter off the block in your forearm, keep the wrist straight. And continue to alternate the rotation with one arm and the other arm, maintaining straight wrist. So I'll let you do that on your own, maybe 5 times, alternating the arms, left and right. When you lift, you're holding that maybe for 3 breaths or so. Okay, and let us complete the last one for the both arms. Notice which one comes maybe with some restrictions. And then if you're ready, try to lift both forearms off the block. That will be much more challenging for you. And hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's release.
Let's release the blocks, and you can turn your head to the right, maybe your face to the right, and take your arms on the sides of the hips to let your shoulders rest a little bit. So taking the breath here, notice how shoulders respond to that relaxed position. And then we'll interlace the hands on the back of the body, pull your arms away, and again bring your forehead down. This time we will lift the legs and then lift the chest and use your arms like to pull your chest off the floor. Keep your neck neutral. Don't lift your chin. Hold and exhale, come down. Then we'll bring the arms into letter Y, and you make a fist and your thumbs are facing the ceiling. And when you're ready, keep your feet on the floor this time. Lift your chest and lift your arms as high as you can, thinking of the fist, strong fist, and the thumb are reaching to the ceiling. A head is in between your arms. And we're now activating the lower trapezius, like a really gray area in the body. And then exhale. You can again turn your head maybe this time to the left and rest. And we have one more set, the same Y position. So when you're ready, take your arms in Y, strong fist, thumbs up toward the ceiling, strong legs, strong glutes, lift to the chest, lift the arms, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then bring the hands on the sides of the rib cage. Very slowly bring yourself into the child pose. You're welcome to have your arms on the sides of the hips this time. Rounding the spine, taking the breath. And then we'll lift the chest and we'll come onto the kneeling position for camel pose. So in a camel pose, we'll just put everything what we already tried in a different pose together. So we'll bring the hands on the lower back and we'll squeeze the glutes, pressing the hips forward, trying to achieve maximum stretch in the hip flexors, and we'll drop the head back only the way that it's comfortable. Think of pressing the chest forward. Keep supporting your lower back with a strong glutes. And then exhale, come just in a straight position. Don't hinge here. And we'll go one arm. So bring the left hand on the lower back. So pressing the hips together, forward. Squeeze the glutes and take your right arm and try to progress as far as you can go. You should feel a lot of a stretch in your quads. Shoulders are prepared to go into that position. As I mentioned, very often it's a shoulder restrictions. Look up, drop the head a little bit, yes, because if you're looking forward, you're kind of locking yourself. And exhale. Let's go other side. Bring the right hand to your lower back. Press the hips forward. Take your left arm up and go. Look up, drop the head backward a little bit, but feel like it's a shelf that your head is resting. So don't create too much of extension in the neck. And exhale. Let us drop the hips down, round the spine, pull in the belly in. Just think of the stretch here in the lower back, chin down, maybe moving the head from side to side, maybe finding some extra tension that travels through trapezius. We just engage them, but now we want to passively stretch them. And then I would suggest to use the block, to sit on the block for the seated twist. So let's today practice the seated twist with the straight leg variation. Bring the left leg straight, take your right foot down on the floor, interlace fingers on the top of your right shin, and first give yourself a space to lengthen, and then bring the right hand behind, hug your knee, and gently rotate to the right. Relax your shoulders and use your breath to increase the intensity of the twist, and hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Return back to the center, interlace the fingers, lengthen here, and then changing the legs. Extending the right leg, reset your seat bones if needed, press the chest into the thigh, get length, and then hug your right knee, bring the left arm behind and twist to the right. Relax the shoulders and hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Unfold back to the center, have a moment here, and then take the block away. Let us bring the soles of the feet together, a little bit of their inner thigh, a stretch. Keep your elbows in front of your knees. Don't think of pulling the head down, just find where it feels comfortable. Again, you can turn your head from side to side, achieving some stretch along the traps here. And then let's release. Let's this time take the legs wide and keep the block in front of you. Flex your feet and think of external rotation of your hips. So turn your toes out and send your seat bones back. Hinge from the hips. Use the block for support of your hands and keep your straight spine. So don't drop your gaze down, but look forward and use the block to pull the chest forward. So think of the stretch here, elongation of the spine rather than passive fold. We're going to come to passive fold later. And you feel some inner thigh stretch definitely. So it might be really very limited. It might be here, maybe even less than 45% that you are hinging forward, and use a little bit of like a biceps to pull yourself forward. You're gonna find how you can move the block a little bit and continue to elongate through the spine. Long, 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 long stretch, and then you might have the block in the lower level. Bring the forearms to the block and drop the head. After so many back bends, we want to calm the nervous system with a couple of relaxed and passive fold forwards. And here you can relax your toes. Notice how some of you might feel like if you're relaxing the feet, so if you're stopping to keep them flexed, they actually are turned slightly inward, right? That's what feels more comfortable in a passive position. And see if you can go a little bit lower. Maybe your forearms able to get down to the floor as you go it lower. Another exhale. And then let's slowly come up and we'll get into the deer leg pose. So in the deer leg pose,
It's not like a 90-90. We can touch the back knee with the front toe, and then I'm using my, doesn't matter which side you turned right now, you're gonna just go to the other side. So with the front thigh, you'll just rotate yourself a little bit, using first the two arms to align the chest to the edge, front edge of the mat. You can also use the bolsters and then allow yourself to come into the support. So you might want to use two blocks here under the chest if you're not owning the bolster, and just find where your chin or the head can rest. Start with a moderate twist first. You definitely feel stretch around the right back of the right hip, but you can then with the time can go a little bit lower here, increasing their sensations of stretch. So as you know, this is a yin approach, and we'll hold that for another minute. Only finding the position where body responds. And then not necessarily have to be a very intense stretch, a gentle stretch. The intensity comes as we're holding that longer, and then you're finding that tissues are releasing and you can go lower, and with that, the result of the stretch increase. We'll have here 5 more exhales. Then using your arms, lift yourself, very slowly release the twist, or maybe you rest on the center, extend your legs, allow your spine to return back into the neutral position. And when you're ready, go other side. So we'll face probably the other side of the mat, or you can just change the position and start with high. See how that feels. First, just use maybe high support for the chest. See how the body responds on the other side. You can go a little bit deeper twist, or a little bit deeper stretch in the hip, whatever feels right for you. And with the time, you allow yourself to go lower, and maybe on some point you will remove all the support and come all the way down to the floor, and we'll be holding the other minute on the other side. Make sure that you're not tensing your shoulders, especially if you are doing this left side, it's your right shoulder. If you're doing right side, it's your left shoulder. So always diagonal
shoulder might compensating the work in the hip. The twist have to be very, very gentle. You mostly feel the twist in the tissues rather than in the spine. The spine more or less should be just straight, parallel to the floor. The twist happening in the tissues of the back as the hips are locked and we one direction, and we're trying to bring the elbows the opposite direction in this twist. Having here 5 more breaths. And let's very slowly come up. Again, we'll rest for a moment into the straight legs position. Letting sensation of stretch to disappear. And then while you sit, just take a look on the next one. So we usually practicing this hip rotation in standing. I want today to practice that lying on the floor. So we're coming, and I'm on the left side, and I will be exercising my right hip. You're welcome to have a block in front of you to just have a support. And you're flexing your feet, so you're trying to get your straight body. And then you bend your right knee into flexion, keeping the knee parallel to the floor. And then we're going to open here. So why I like this variation, you actually have a reference of the floor. So you exactly on the left side, so you see how far you can open the knee. And then you're trying to keep the knee high. You rotate it and get the knee as far back, but not collapsing forward. You're using the block here and get the knee back into the hip extension and then release. And then we're gonna come to the hip extension and then bring the knee up and forward and release, okay? So go on your own, go slow. You're definitely familiar with this movement. Find where the block will be your reference. So block is parallel to the chest, and you all the time want to keep your forearm also perpendicular to the floor. That will be your reference, and you're just exercising the circular movement in the hip. Let's go 5 times this direction, trying to get as circular movement as possible. When we're practicing this in standing, we have a challenge to maintain balance. Here, you don't need to worry about that, and you have a reference of the floor as your solid surface in which you can refer the opening of the hip. And you see, when we go into extension, we'll have to collapse forward. So you use the block here to support. And it's nice. Keep your foot flexed all the time. So yes. So finishing your 5th one. We will then come to the straight position and just take a moment to compare the sensation in both hips. So feel how your right hip right now alive, breathing, and we'll go to the other side. You can just turn on the other side, or
for me to be with my face to the camera. I'm changing the position, flex your feet again, find where the block comfortable for you to use, and start with a flexion and then open. Try to think of a positions here, 1, here is 2, and then when you come into extension, hold is also for a split of a second, it's 3, and then extend the leg, and then from extended leg go to hip extension, external rotation, and then flexion and return. Also, let's go 5 times on this side. Again, go slow, try to hit the end range in every position. And probably now will be your last one. And take a moment here to lie down and just connect to your left hip. And then we'll get to the supine position, so roll on your back. Then bring your knees to your chest, maybe you tense a little bit the lower back. And we'll extend the legs, extend the arms, point the toes, and give a full body stretch. We didn't address a lot of the sides of the body, so let's do it now. Let's go to Bandhanasana. Move your heels to the left. And move your head and arms to the left as well. Can cross the right ankle on the top of the left. Can hold the right wrist with the left hand. Relax in the right shoulder. Take a couple of exhales to the right shoulder. Notice how you feel. It's also a bit of external rotation with all the work that we did for the shoulder. You might feel a little bit more space. And then return back to the center. Retest that you actually on the midline. And then go to the other side, moving the heels to the right. Moving shoulders and head to the right, holding the left wrist, crossing the left ankle on the top of the right. Keep the left shoulder grounded. Taking another exhale and then return back to the center. Let us just reset their spine. And just for the last one, I would like you to use the block, and 2 blocks actually. Bring it for the supported fish. So get 1 block under the thoracic spine, and the second block probably in the higher position under the back of the head. Let's extend the legs and extend the arms, T or a little bit less, A if that's working for you. And we will practice this elevated fish as our last position here. Very passive back bend, in which I'm inviting you to connect to the front of the body, allowing expansion in the chest, allowing sensation of gravity to be cultivated in legs, hips, forearms, back of the head. Your exhale might be a little bit restricted because you're in a back bend. So without forcing, without holding the breath, just find the pace and notice the space. Might be a little bit different from your straight spine position. Now just allow the movements in toes and fingers. Bend your knees, roll to one side to be able to remove the blocks. Come on the straight spine, then bring your knees to your chest and rock from side to side, massaging the lower back. Then find your way to drop the knees to one side and using the left arm, bring yourself into seated position. Take your time. Set your cross leg position. Take your hands on the sides of the hips. Allow yourself to get length. And bring the hands in front of the heart. Gently close the eyes. Allow yourself a couple of long exhales and reach the end of the practice. Take a note of your emotional condition right now. With a lot of back bends, you might feel yourself a little bit elevated, and that's good if you practice this in the morning. Thank yourself for being able to be on the mat, and take this experience to be your guide for the rest of the day. Namaste.